every kid's dream is to play pros.
بمر لعلي فرحات علي فرحات بياخد تسديدة مش معقولة يا علي يا فرحات نجم المباراة علي فرحات بروح على السلة هاي love this game علي فرحات.
When you get that phone call, Baba, I'm moving to Lebanon, this is gonna be my job.
This is where the story gets a little crazy.
Oh, really?
So now at 21, I'm thinking, man, am I really making the mistake that everyone may say that I'm making?
Did it ever get lonely?
I remember one night, I was by myself in my apartment. I just went outside and sat on my porch. I was storming outside, and I called my mom, and I just started crying. You know, in that moment, I told myself, I said, if you can get through this, you can get through anything. One day, she wakes me up at 6 o'clock in the morning and is yelling, saying, Ali, come look outside, there's something happening. You know, they say your heart falls. There's a semi-truck that's dumping hundreds of tires into the middle of the highway. And there's a guy wearing the V for Vendetta mask, pouring gasoline everywhere. This guy's smoking a cigarette, and he flicks it. And the whole highway goes up in flames. My career was taken from me in the snap of a fingers.
قد ايه بتحب تلعب مع منتخب لبنان؟
حلمي من اني ولد صغير كنت احضر المنتخب فوق. اذا بيجيني هالتشانس I will be very happy. My dream will come true.
Why did you never make the national team?
You break my heart right now, Jafar.
Before we start today's episode, I just wanted to thank you for taking the time out of your day and giving this podcast to listen. And I also wanted to remind you that the only way this podcast will ever grow is with your support and with your help. So subscribe to the podcast, like this video, and now let's get the show started.
Welcome aboard Middle East Airlines.
والمتوجهة إلى
طيران الشرق الأوسط يرحب
مدينة القدس العربية.
Ali, how are you?
Brother? I'm good, man. How are
Welcome
you?
to Not From Here.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. First, I want you to introduce yourself.
Okay.
But the way I want you to introduce yourself is when you look in the mirror, who is Ali Ta'ali?
Well, before I introduce myself, I brought you a gift to wear during the podcast. It's my 2021 Lebanese Championship medal. So I want you to wear this during the podcast, and then we'll get into the details.
All right.
Okay, so
How does it look?
looks awesome. Looks better than
Does it
on me.
look
Yeah. So who is Ali? Ali is
Who is Ali Ta'ali?
Ali Ta'ali is everything I wanted to be as a kid, right? Like I take pride on, you know, looking back from when I was 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever, you know, years old, and I like to take pride on saying, you know, this is who I wanted to be, and I became that person. So, you know, to me, Ali Ta'ali, I'm a loving father, I'm a brother, I'm a son, a cousin, a friend. I'm a hand in the community.
Yeah.
I want to be, you know, as helpful to the city of Dearborn and my people here as they were to me. So Ali is a man of the people.
I like that.
Yeah.
How did you end up here in America? Now you kind of have a different story. You played basketball professionally in Lebanon. But before all that, how did you get here?
So I'm the son of 2 immigrants. You know, my father came here at 18 years old on a student visa. He's a Lawrence Tech alumni and Eastern Michigan alumni, believe it or not. And my mom came here at 2 years old. So she's an immigrant, but, you know, a little more American than my dad is, you know. So I'm the son of 2 immigrants. I was actually born in Miami, Florida. My dad was, you know, working there as an engineer at the time. After a couple of years, you know, we moved up to Dearborn, man. The rest is history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where does that love for Lebanon come from in your household, in your upbringing?
It comes from my father. You know, I have to give my dad 100% credit for that. And the reason behind it is, you know, as kids, you don't realize the things that you realize as adults, right? Now that I've been traveling back and forth to Lebanon for so many years, one, you realize how expensive it is, right? And you realize how not easy it is to just take time off work and make those things happen, you know?
Yeah.
And as kids, you play the whole year in class with your friends. You know, like obviously I was born and raised here. You go to school for the whole year and you want to have your summer vacation with your friends. That way you don't have homework, you're out on the playground, you know, whatever, you know, we wanted to do as kids. And then my dad would come home from work one day and say, here's 5 tickets. We're going to Lebanon for 3 months. You know, June, July, and August, the whole summer. And I'm like, no, like I don't want to. I want to play with my friends. I want to enjoy just, you know, regular childhood things. And every year he would take us, and just little by little that grow of love and culture and maybe even patriotism, you know, having pride in who I was, that like, although I'm very happy and proud to be an American and living here in this beautiful country, also that's me too.
Yeah.
You know, and some would even say that's more of me, you know, than what I am now. So my dad used to make us go all the time, and it was the best thing that he ever did for me my entire life.
Wow. How would you describe your relationship with Lebanon right now?
It's a love and hate relationship.
How so?
Love because, and then this shocks people, especially a lot of my Lebanese family and friends that I met down there in my time there. I would prefer to be there right now.
Really?
I love Lebanon. I love everything about Lebanon. I love the culture. I love the weather. I love the beach. I love the people. Just they have this charismatic way of living that I just, I fell for it when I went there, and it's going to follow up right into what I hate, right, is the politics, the poverty, the unfair treatment. I mean, there's so many things that, some of the citizens there have no control over. And I actually got to experience two different eras of Lebanon. When I got there in 2016, there was no sitting president at the time. I stayed in the country for 2 years with no sitting president. And believe it or not, things were actually kind of good.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, right? And then, eventually, I know the wada right now is very bad, and, what's going on, that it transcended into that. So I'm like, I love this place and I love the people and everything it has to offer, but I also hate the unfair treatment, the turned heads to what's going on there. And, sometimes you feel like there's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah.
It's a very helpless feeling. So I wish we could do something and change that.
It's a very bad feeling that you want to be there all the time, but you know that you can't be.
Yeah.
Tell me about how that phone call to come play in Lebanon came to be.
This is an interesting story. So I think the only person that had played in Lebanon prior to myself was Ali Farhat. And I'm going to say his name up front for an important reason. He had spent some time there, right? So as he was there and people began to get to know him, specifically our agent, Jad Saadeh, and he found out what type of community we have in Dearborn, which is a very, Arab-based, specifically Lebanese-based city. And he was ecstatic at the fact of, hey, I know you're Lebanese American, but there has to be more of you and guys like you who grow up and love the sport and have the passion and talent and ability to do so from your city.
Yeah.
And God bless Ali at the time. I was the first name that he threw to him. He said, hey, man, we have Ali Farhat there. He's young, he's talented, he's, working very hard. You should check him out. So I would say around my sophomore year, I get an inbox message on Facebook from Jad.
Yeah.
And Jad right now, by the way, is one of my best friends in life. He's a brother for many years now. Congrats to him and his wife who just gave birth to their new beautiful baby girl. Very happy for them. But Jad messages me on Facebook and says, hey, how would you like to play professional basketball? Now, I was a 15, 16-year-old kid. My heart started racing, but I looked at his profile. I'm thinking, like, there's no way this is real. I mean, professional basketball in Lebanon. I mean, I told you all these stories about me growing up and going there. It was all about soccer, football. Like,
that's what it is.
I was weird when I would tell them, like, hey, fina nal'ab kurat as-salli. Like, I had to say it formally because they didn't even know, basket now. But he messaged me and I ignored it. I didn't answer it. A couple weeks passed by. He messages me again saying, hey, I'm serious. This is my name. I'm an agent. I'm certified. This is what I do. He kind of explained to me in a message what the process was. And I said, you know what, this might be kind of interesting, right? Every kid's dream is to play pro. So I gave him my phone number. He called me. And I swear to you, Jad followed me all through college. I played 2 years at Eastern Michigan and a year at U of M Dearborn. One time, Jad, randomly, I seen him in Kalamazoo, Michigan, just to come and just to see me, that I'm a real person. He flew all the way from Beirut to Kalamazoo, Michigan. Somebody called my name. I'm in the middle of Kalamazoo warming up in Western's gym. And someone says Ali with the perfect accent. I'm like, okay, I'm in Kalamazoo. There's no way. Like, I turn around and look and I see Jad right there. And I right away, I got excited. I want to go talk to him. He said, I don't want nothing. I'm just happy here to see you. I verified you here. Allah yawik, and I'll see you in a few years. And little by little, he kept those tabs on me, and he watched me play at U of M. And eventually going into my senior year in college, that's when I received an offer to go play. And here we are, almost 15 years later. He's still like my brother. Yeah. So it's Ali Farhat, pushed my name to him, and Jad has worked miracles ever since.
And so you get signed at 18?
No, I actually got signed at 21.
Okay.
So coming out of high school, the national team, I don't know if I'd mentioned this to you, the U18 team had reached out to me. Now, like I said, Ali was the only person I had known at the time that was overseas playing in specifically Lebanon. And it was hard to get a hold of him. I was so young and he's overseas and I really didn't know much. There wasn't much guidance for me, I guess I could say, because sometimes when you're the first to do something, you have to learn and make some mistakes in order to find out what's right. So at the time, Jad had actually reached out to me and said, we would love for you to come out for the summer and play for the U18 team here with the national team. And I had thought like, oh my God, that's pro. I'm going to forfeit my NCAA eligibility.
Yeah.
I had already committed to Eastern Michigan. I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. There's no way. So I went for 3 years to college, and then going into my senior year, that's when he called me. At 21, he said, hey, there's an opportunity here. What do you think? And we went over some numbers. We went over, the situation, and there's much more to it even after that, but that's how it started.
Okay. When you get that phone call from Jad and your dad came here, he moved from Lebanon to America to provide a better life for you, his future son that you weren't even around at the time.
Right.
And then at 15, 16, you come around and you tell him that from Lebanon they're reaching out and this is an agent. And then a couple years after that, you tell him, Baba, I'm moving to Lebanon and this is going to be my job. I'm going to work in Lebanon.
Oh, yeah.
How is that conversation with your parents like?
Let me tell you this. It's the beauty in the struggle, right? Because as I told you, my dad was very pro-Lebanon, taking us there every year, loving it. But because of his prior experiences, in the beginning, when I started to mention these talks to him, he wasn't really the biggest fan of it. And just a little bit of background on my parents. My mom, I get my basketball skills from my mother. My mother was a phenomenal basketball player.
Oh,
right?
really?
My father, a great athlete, but my dad's more of, education.
Yeah.
You need to, get your degree. You need to study. You need to get a license in something. I mean, you need to just always, read and learn something new every day. Baba, why don't you take basketball as a hobby type of scenario?
Yeah.
Me, I had a fire burning in me from the day I picked up the ball and I said, nope, I'm going to try to make it to the NBA. I'm going to try, and so on and so forth. So some of those conversations were tough, right? At 15, 16, it's a supportive pat on the back of inshallah, Baba. One day you will get the opportunities.
Yeah.
And then at 18, when he sees me now going to college and playing and receiving a scholarship per se and doing things, he's like, a little open to it. And then when the full-blown thing came in and I said, going into my senior year, that I have something else that I want to pursue. I've received a contract offer and I want to go, make this opportunity work. And it looked like he's seen a ghost.
Really?
He was like, no. I said, what do you mean no? He said, no, you gotta finish school. You need to stay here. You need to get a job here. Shouldn't you be looking at an internship? And I said, let's not act like my whole life I haven't been, aiming to get to basketball, right? I said, something about my dad that, even though he disagreed with my move at the time, I'm forever in debt to him for this of many other things, alhamdulillah. But I told him, Dad, this is my dream.
Yeah.
Like what I want to do is at least go prove to myself that, one, I'm capable and I'm able, and two is I want to prove to the rest of the people in the city that dream big, you can do it. Because so many people laughed at me when I tell them my aspirations of playing varsity as a freshman at Dearborn High or being all-state and leading the state in scoring and breaking the city of Dearborn scoring records and just playing Division I. And I can go forever and ever because that's who I am, John.
To winning the Lebanese championship.
If you tell me no, I'm going to take it all the way to the Lebanese championship. That's just the type of person I am. I have a really a different type of grind, as you could maybe see. But I told my dad, listen, I'll make a deal with you. I'm going to go there for my first year. I'm going to play. And I'm going to get this out of my system because, when you go there, very fast will you realize whether you belong or not, And I said, if it doesn't work, school's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
My education's never going anywhere, but my knees aren't going to work forever. My arms aren't going to work forever. I'm not always going to be athletic and have these opportunities. I don't want to be 45, 50 years old and say, what if?
Yeah.
That's my biggest nightmare. So with a big shock to me, both of my brothers and even my mom, my dad said, you know what? Okay, let's do it. So from there, this is where the story gets a little crazy. Okay, so I'm walking out of practice at U of M Dearborn, and beginning of my senior year. Jad calls me. Now, whenever Jad calls me, till this day, it's either great news or you know? So I pick up the phone and I answer and I say, hey, Jad, what's going on? How you doing, brother? Whatever, we're having the conversation. He goes, I have a contract for you. I said, Jad, I still have a year left of college. What do you mean you have a contract for me? He goes, no, we're ready to go. I said, okay. I went over the details with it, and it was with a top tier team at the time, and it was a 2-year deal. Finances were phenomenal. The area I was living, I mean, this was a dream come true.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, send me the contract, let's sign and let's get it moving. I made that decision, and I was super amped up about it. Long story short, the contract falls through. Negotiation happens, things don't work out. And you got to understand, this is where the story gets tough, because I had already spoken to my coach at U of M Dearborn at the time and told him I'm going to forego my senior year and go play overseas.
Yeah.
I bet you could imagine his reaction to that.
Oh,
he wasn't the happiest guy
probably.
in the world. You know, I tried to explain to him my side of things the best that I could. I don't think he perceived it in that way. I had aspirations. I wanted to, chase that dream. I wanted to get married. I wanted to just do a lot of things that I knew, with that contract I was going to have the opportunity to do. And it didn't work. And Allah does everything that he does for a certain reason. So then the second best team in the league at the time comes. And prior to this, the coach of that team, Coach Fuad Abu Sha'ra, which is, I love that man to death. He met with my dad in Lebanon, and my younger brother Yusuf was a phenomenal athlete as well. He's a record holder at Fortson.
Right now?
He graduated a couple years ago, but Yusuf has the most 3-point shots made in the history of Fortson.
Wow.
He made me very proud. But they went to dinner, my dad, Coach Fuad, my brother Yusuf, Jad, and they took him back to, Hikmeh at the time suggests, to their stadium. And Coach Fuad put my brother Yusuf through a workout, and I got another 2-year offer on the table. And I said, you know what? I'm going to sign this one. And this one, everyone signed. And now I'm waiting for my plane ticket. And a day goes by, a week goes by, 2 weeks goes by, and I didn't get the ticket yet. Because, part of my package deal is, salary, plane ticket, car, and also a vacation ticket sometimes back and forth to see my family. And so if I'm not getting the ticket, there has to be something wrong.
Yeah.
I'm asking Jad's saying, hey, call coach. I think there's something he needs to tell you. I call Coach Fuad, and Coach, God bless him, he looked out for me, man. He tells me, Ali, our financing fell through. We had a lot of sponsors that were guaranteeing us X amount of dollars, and it's just not going to be that way anymore. So, you still have a spot on the team anytime, any day of the week, but the number that we promised, it's probably going to be significantly lower than that. So now, 2 times in a row from some of the top teams in Lebanon, I've got my foot in the door, and I felt like the door was pushed back in my face.
Yeah.
So now at 21, I'm thinking, man, am I really making the mistake that everyone may say that I'm making? I'm leaving my senior year. I'm going to a different country. I'm signing documents. Like, you got to think, now I'm a mortgage broker, Jafar. When you sign a document, right?
Yeah.
Over there, it's null and void.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. So I reached out to Jad, and Jad knows this. I was frustrated. I was in tears, man. I was, almost demotivated. But in a sense, I'm like getting even hungrier. Like, wow. Look how close I'm getting.
Yeah.
And I'm almost there, but it's not happening. I need to make this happen. I went to my dad. I said, Dad, listen, I need your help. I need you to book me a ticket to Lebanon. Okay? I'm going to pack my bags and I'm going to go, because I don't care how many highlight tapes Jad shows them. I don't care how many videos they watch or how many times I talk to them on my phone. They're not going to know Ali Farhat unless they see Ali Farhat on the court. Once they see me play and they see the passion I play with, the physicality, just the American style that I bring to the table with what I learned here, they're not going to turn me away. And that's when I went to Nady Chamville, which still holds my heart till this day. It was my first home, the first place that gave me my fighting chance, man. 1 spot left on the roster. I get to Lebanon. I'm driving now from Anoun all the way in South Lebanon.
Yeah.
I don't have a place yet up there, so I'm driving all the way to Dik al-Mehdi, which is above Nahr al-Kalb, long story short, 2.5 hours away. Back and forth every day for practice, and this was in September where the weather was still 90, 95 degrees. I walk into the gym for the first day, my very first tryout. I'm looking around, it's surreal. Like now, I went from not making it to 2 of the teams that I was supposed to play with to I just walked up the steps.
So you rejected the offer from the second team?
Yes, because, at the end of the day, and I know this is a funny question, a lot of people, in the community ask me, is like, do you get paid out there? And I say,
Lebanese players get paid.
I say we get paid, and alhamdulillah, we get paid actually very well. And people say, well, throw me a number, and I say I really can't, because you get paid according to your ability. Like, I know guys who make $300-400 a month there, and I know guys who make $100,000 a month. You know what I mean? So it was a huge deal to me, because for me to leave college a little bit early and depend on this to provide for me and my future family, it had to make sense.
Yeah.
I wasn't at the point where I was able to make sacrifices. I said, You know, can I depend on my parents to help me out? Absolutely. I was 21 and until now, I'm almost 30. My parents will still help me if I ever needed it. But alhamdulillah, I said, you know what? No, I'm going to challenge myself. I'm going to do it my way.
Yeah.
I'm going to struggle if I have to. And I'm going to make sure I get the numbers that work for me. And, and lo and behold, it did.
And
it worked.
Schonville gave you that number.
Schonville gave me a number. Not the number I wanted, right? But when I went in there, I loved the president of the team and the management and the coach Ghassan Sarkis, very, very close to me. I said, you know what? If this is what it takes for me to sacrifice 1 year, I'll sign something under what I feel like my value is, because I know once I prove myself in 1 year, I'm going to make it to where I need to be.
Yeah.
And in 2016, I made the Lebanese All-Star game. We had an All-Star game that year. I was chosen as one of the top 15 players to participate. And I was also on the Arab Basket website, which is where a lot of the awards are given out. I was newcomer of the year as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I signed for over double the amount the next season with Schonville.
Nice.
So it worked out in my favor betting on myself.
How does because you love them, you know, you walk in, you're excited, you fall in love with them. How is their reaction to you?
Listen, when you first go there, they don't know what to expect. I felt like I was very different than your typical Lebanese American player that goes there, because there has been a history of Lebanese American guys and, you know, Lebanese players also from all over the world, Brazil, France, you know, who go and play if they have the Lebanese passport. They didn't know what to expect with me, but, you know, I'm fluent in Arabic. I can read, I can write, and it wasn't my first rodeo. Like, I've been to Lebanon several times. My family has a home down there. Like, I'm more Lebanese than American, if you want my real opinion.
Yeah.
So when I went down there and they seen that I was fluent and, oh, هيدا من الجنوب وبيحكي, you know, everything that, you know, Lebanese people love about being Lebanese, I guess you could say, they seen it in me, and I began to fit in. But sometimes I was stuck in a neutral spot, because on every Lebanese team, you're allowed up to 2 or some years 3 foreigners on the team. So a lot of years I would have 9 Lebanese players, including myself, plus 3 players who generally would come from the NBA here or the G League, but 9 out of 10 times they were American.
Yeah.
So now they're coming here and they're expecting to meet all Lebanese players, right? And here I am. I'm like, yo, what's up, brother? How you doing? With my accent and how I'm English first. And they're like, wait, where are you from? I'm like, oh, I'm from Dearborn, you know, Detroit, Michigan. Like, you know, I let them know where I'm from. And now it's almost like you're being pulled left and right angle, because there's a lot of drama during the season. Like,
ego? Do you get a lot of ego?
I feel like the entire country of Lebanon has an ego.
Yeah.
You know?
That's why I'm asking.
So yes, absolutely. The entitlement sometime of certain people, like, you know, you got to understand here in America, if your coach tells you, hey, go sit down on the bench, you're going to be, you know, this type of role this year, and you decide to argue back with him, he has no problem tossing you. And I don't want to use vulgar language on the podcast, but he'll toss your A word right out of there, right? In Lebanon, it's like, لا أنا بحق لي, I signed for this much and you promised me this, and you know my dad, and this guy's a part of the federation وواسطة من هون. And it's not loud like that, but playing there 6 years, I figured out, you know, some of the things and ways that certain things work. And it's not like that everywhere, right? But the entitlement, and I'm just like, man, like, culture in general was different there. You know, going on a vacation and living there are 2 different worlds. Like, vacation there is like, go to the bahr, swim, up all night, having a good time. Like, here it's like, okay, I really need to understand how these people work on a daily basis. You know what I mean? It's much different with traffic, with entitlement. Like I'm saying, if a guy's driving a taxi cab, and you know how driving is there's no lanes, there's no speed limit, there's no stoplights, there's no anything, right? So it's a free-for-all, and he wants to cut you off and then stop his car in the middle of the road and yell at you for him cutting you off. And I know I'm 21, 22, like,
you're dizzy.
I'm going to fight everybody, or I'm just going to get used to this. You know, it was crazy. So I also had to adjust like that in basketball too, because high school was maybe homegrown and fun. Your teammates, you've known this coach since you were younger, but after high school, basketball is not a joke. No sports are a joke. I mean, honestly, nothing is. But when somebody is paying you to do something, whether that be a scholarship in college or now dealing with, at the professional level, a president, a manager, a treasurer, a full staff, and most of all, a fan base.
Yeah.
When you have to deal with all that, things get pretty serious, and you take the game and approach of life a little bit differently, because it's just, there's repercussions for what you do now.
How were the fans like?
The best in the world. Allah yahmikum. The best in the world. I mean, I'm going to send you some videos and stuff later. Like my memories of like Schonville with a full house. Like when I say full house, I mean 10,000, 15,000 people in a Coliseum arena, letting off smoke bombs, cracking fireworks, screaming at the top of their lungs, going crazy. it was the best experience I've ever had in my life. I mean, it made me feel young and like a kid, but even now at my age, if I go there and play in front of that crowd, it'll give you that same juice of energy. And there was games or, you have a big game, or if I would dunk in a game or do something, and after the game, they would rush to the floor and pick me up, and now I'm crowd surfing and thousands of people, and they're screaming your name, and it just, that's what gave me even more pride and even more love for playing basketball, but more specifically, playing in Lebanon, playing where I was from.
Yeah.
Because I've had other countries come knock on the door, but I've to be honest said no to all of them and said if it's not the NBA, it's Lebanon. If it's not Lebanon, it's nothing.
Yeah.
So
You played all over Lebanon.
yes.
And for those who don't know, Lebanon is very divided. Each location has its own religion, each sect. So you played all over. How was that experience like? Because I'm not sure like if you moved from where Shamville plays, were you living in that area?
Yes. I
So
did.
you were living in each area that...
Absolutely. So
Okay.
every team that contracted me and I signed with them, I'd have to move to an apartment that they, purchased and furnished for me that was relatively close to the gym, their home gym specifically. So I'll take you through my time there, right? Years 1 and 2 were with Shamville. So originally I told you guys I'm from the south of Lebanon. So Lebanon's kind of shaped like a banana on the water. The south is over here, okay? Now I'm playing in Dik El Mahdi, which is over here, more towards the north.
The map is
Beirut.
behind you. I'm looking at it as you speak.
There it is, right? So I'm going all the way up the mountain, Jafar.
Yeah.
Now I'm different. I would say I'm the only Ali within a 100-mile radius. You get what I mean? So now I'm living, eating, sleeping, doing everything in a profoundly Christian area. Even bigger, at the time, Shamville was sponsored by Michel Aoun, which was the president of the country. So every team that you play for, 9 out of 10 times is politically, empowered by, a naib or somebody in parliament, a president, prime minister, someone who's involved in politics, because the whole game of basketball over there is really, get the best team, win as many games as you can, gather as many fans as you can, so that we can get as many votes as possible. So my first 2 years, I was in Dik El Mahdi in the zoo area on the water there by Nahr Al Kalb. Year 3, oh my God, year 3, I went to a new team called Atlas. Atlas was in Firzol. Firzol is even further than Zahle.
Yeah.
I was in the Ba'ab, Albak, that area. Oh my God. It gets dark at 3 o'clock in the afternoon during the winter time. Practices for us were at 9 o'clock at night. So after about 2 months of going through that, I had a Lebanese American friend. His name's Ghassan Naame. He lives in Colorado Springs. So he's from Colorado. Me and him decided, okay, we're the only two on the team who are, let's say, going to get along because we had a prior history of knowing each other. We can't live here. Jafar, when it snows by the foot.
Yeah.
And like if people in Dearborn and Dearborn Heights complain about their snow not getting plowed, you don't ever get snow plowed over there. So if I want to drive, I have to have chains put onto my car, and I swear to you, I'm lucky if I can move 5 feet. So we ended up finding another spot in Bikfaya, which is like maybe an hour and a half drive. Imagine every day.
Yeah.
To Firzol. And the drive there is what really I ended up leaving in the middle of the season year because just the living circumstance and everything there. And oh my God, man, imagine having practice at 9 o'clock at night and I have to leave 2 hours early because I'm an hour and a half away.
Yeah.
I got to get my ankles taped. I was, a captain of the team. I had to, set an example and get to practice early and work out. And I was basically driving on a road that's called Tariq Tarshish. It's a back mountain road. And for those of you who don't know, there are no railings in Lebanon.
Yeah.
So when you're going up to the Ba'a or Ba'albak or just what I call in the mountains, you better drive very safely.
Very safe.
So we were driving at 9, 10 o'clock at night on the way there, 1 o'clock in the morning on the way back sometimes, in pitch darkness, no street lights. And snow, fog. And fog was the biggest factor of them all. So Ghassan was from Colorado. He's used to snow. I'm from Dearborn. I'm used to snow. But snow on the mountain with fog in front of you, we couldn't see. So for a majority of the practices, Jafar, we would tape an iPad to the front of our little car at the time that we had. And I would hold my phone with the camera out and he would hold his phone with the camera out because the resolution through the camera lens could actually see the road better than what we could see in plain sight in front of us.
Wow.
So hazards on. We have, imagine, duct taping a huge iPad. Ghassan's got his phone out. I got my phone out. We're driving 5-10 miles an hour on the way there, on the way back. You know how many times we almost slid off the cliff, or some, funny guys speeding and speeding on a mountain in fog. And at the last second, we have to turn. After a while, I said, enough is enough. Living in Lebanon wasn't as easy as I thought, but living there was even harder.
Yeah.
I went back home early. Year 4, I signed with Homentman. They were an Armenian team based in Beirut. So I was back into a familiar area. I was much more relaxed. And then that year was the year that the Saura revolution had started. And it actually started right under my building. Me and my wife at the time, I got married in 2019. Me and Reem had just moved to Lebanon.
So she moved with you in 2019?
Absolutely.
Okay, so that all that time prior, she wasn't with you?
No, we were talking. We were talking, and I was traveling back and forth. Now, the best part about it was, me and my wife we've been married for 4 years, but we've been talking for 10 years. I fell in love with her at 18 years old, and, immediately took my father, my family. We went and spoke to her father and set up, in our culture, hey, this is what my plan is in life.
Yeah.
This is when we want to do the tulbah, the engagement, the marriage. And God bless my father-in-law. He agreed, and he believed in me and said, Ali, I'll give you a chance. And
18-year-old walking into your in-laws' place telling them you want to play basketball for a living.
Yeah, it wasn't easy. You have to answer some, I would say, big boy questions because, I don't have a sister.
Yeah.
I have an older brother and a younger brother. So not to say I don't know Qimt al-Bint, because I definitely do. My mother's a queen and she taught us that.
Yeah.
But now dealing with somebody else's daughter, and my wife is the oldest child and the only daughter in her family. So I'm sure you can imagine how attached everyone is to her. And I had to go in and explain myself and tell them, hey, this is what my plan, this is what I plan to study. And if I don't finish school, this is the route that I want to, go on. Mortgages was always something I was interested. And I said, but all in all, just to be frank and honest, I'm going to play professional basketball.
Yeah.
It wasn't something I questioned, Jafar.
Yeah.
I told people, and people, you know how many people laughed at me? You got to imagine how many haters I dealt with in school. Being the young guy, 13, 14 years old, playing varsity and starting over a senior, that's no joke, man.
Yeah.
These senior guys had it out for me, and so many supported me. And, we were in high school, none of that stuff matters. I'm friends with all of them now, but I went through a lot to get to where I was. And if I didn't have that, no, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
And I don't care who stands in my way. I have God by my side. I have my family's blessing. And I have a strong supporting cast with my, my friends and my wife now and everybody around me. Nobody's going to stop me. You can say whatever you want, but
You're very stubborn.
I'm very stubborn.
You're very
and
stubborn.
I always tell people, like, sometimes, if you catch me in a lazy phase, it's a little scary when I get back into that mode where I'm like, you know what? No,
Yeah.
I'm going to do this because I'll go to the end of the earth to accomplish something, and
Now, let me stay on that point of you lived everywhere across Lebanon. Did it ever get lonely?
I remember one night, my first year, where, and it wasn't the first time I'd lived by myself. I lived by myself in college for 3 years, so it's like it wasn't new to me. But, hey mom, or hey Ned, my brother, or hey Reem, or hey whoever I'm talking to, and they're down the street, and I'm up at Eastern or somewhere local. It's no big deal. But, one night I was by myself in my apartment. This was my first year there. And I had a long day, man. Now that I'm by myself, I'm having to figure out directions. I'm driving. I'm cooking for myself. I'm cleaning after myself. And, like, I did that all in college, but it's next level when you're by yourself in the utter darkness. Like, no more food being sent to me. No more got a roommate, he'll vacuum. I'll take care of the dishes. None of that stuff. And I'm working out 5 times a day. I'm doing 5 loads of laundry.
Yeah.
I had a rough day. Had a bad practice. I don't know what happened. I just went outside and sat on my porch. It was storming outside. It's one of those days I'll never forget. And I called my mom and I just started crying. And I said, Wallah, like, this is everything I ever dreamed of. It's everything I ever wanted. Like, Allah's blessed me so much. You guys pushed me all the way here, but I'm just having one of those days because I was so used to my mom at every game, my brothers at every game. I mean, if you ask the people in Dearborn about me and my time 10 years ago when I was here, they used to tell me, like, Ali, who's that posse that's coming to the game? My mom, my friends, my brothers, my cousins, their friends. I had a huge group that supported me. And I don't care if I was playing in Ohio or I was here playing against Fortson or wherever I went, the same, 50, 60 people would come watch my games. So not having that, and now facing the challenges of like I said, there's a lot of politics as well in Lebanon.
Yeah.
And like I told you, I was the only Ali. So I was, for a far radius, I was facing challenges, man. And I just wanted to talk to my mom. I just wanted to hug my dad. I just wanted to, sit with my brothers. And in that moment, I told myself, I said, if you can get through this, you can get through anything. I lived in Juni. I lived in Baalbek. I lived in Jal Dib. I lived in Hamra, Beirut. I lived this year in the Mansouriya when I played with Beirut Club a couple months ago. And I think that night is what allowed me to just be like, you know what? Yeah, whoever I sign with, I'm going to go there. I'm going to tickle ala Allah. And I'm going to tough this out because, you know, eventually my son is 2 years old right now, Ali Jr. But by the time Ali Jr. is 20, my story is going to be like, Baba, I played for the Pistons. Shubek, you know, I did this and I traveled here. You know, it'll be much more exaggerated. So I said, I got to have enough in the bag to be able to tell him everything that I did.
So you're Ali Abu Ali.
I'm Ali Abu Ali.
I like that.
Yeah, they've been calling me senior lately.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I like that. Ali Abu Ali.
Yeah.
You know, there's one thing that I don't think you get enough credit for. And this is after, like, I'm doing research for this episode and I'm seeing you played all these years in Lebanon. And I watched all these interviews of you. You have practiced multiple times a day as a professional basketball player.
Absolutely.
There is a 7-hour time difference between you and your partner here. How did you manage a long distance relationship with your wife? Staying
up late at night. It wasn't easy, man. But I think
you're doing all that for her.
Everything.
That's everything. The thing. You're trying to provide a future for her, but now really at the same time, you have to be far away, 7-hour time difference, and it's the thing about long distance relationships. It's not about only one person. It's about you and it's about her. You know, you guys have to be fully like on the same wavelength when it comes to this stuff. Like, yeah, this is going to be, and people underestimate how hard that is.
It is. It's extremely hard. But I think the most important thing is that you and your partner are on the same page. Like me and Reem have been friends since high school, right? But the day that we got serious and said, hey, you know, God willing, we can make this work, I had to let her know what my plan was. And I said, hey, any day when I get that phone call, I'm probably going to pull the trigger and go. And, you know, it's to build for us and it's to eventually bring you there with me too, inshallah. And, you know, to her credit, she said, if you're down, I'm down. And I said, you know what? Let's do it. So the challenging part is the long distance, man. I mean, it's so much easier when you guys are here and you can see each other and it's so easy. But listen, when you're young and you want to get married, I got married at 24 years old, you know? So like, you have to do things that not your average 24-year-old are going to do.
Yeah.
Right? So Reem, Smallah Aliyah, she got her bachelor's and master's by the time of age 21. So she had her own grind at the time. Yeah. And we kind of agreed and laughed. And I said, you know what? If we're around each other, we might be a distraction. I'm going to stay out of the gym. You're not going to be studying. While I'm doing these 5 workouts a day and doing, you know, everything that I was doing over there, just trying to be as professional as possible, Reem's going full-time to school, doing her internship, working a full-time job at an autism center downtown. My wife's a social worker. So she was like, you know, grinding the best that she could. And I was doing the best that I could so that we could ultimately meet with this one goal. Now, 7-hour difference. You know, our timing was not always there, but we made sure to talk every morning, every night. We made sure communication was always there, sending selfies or Snapchats or, you know, doing everything we could.
Just keep each other in the loop.
Listen, man, also, you know, maybe a little bit of advice. I know I'm only 28, 29, but I've been married for some time. Me and my wife have been together for a long time. Sometimes it's not always good to be in each other's faces every second of the day. It gave us room to miss each other. And the blessing of it is that, you know, my father-in-law is equally obsessed with Lebanon as me and my father are. Yeah. So he has family down there. Harim's aunts, her cousins, her uncles, they're all there. So while I was overseas for all those years, I would leave from September, you know, to May, June, in that range, right? During that time period, I'm gone from September to November. November, I'm coming back home for a 1-week break. That's the first break in my contract. And then December would come, January, New Year's, Reem would fly to Lebanon, and I would go to her family's house and spend New Year's with them. Yeah. And then February would come back, I would get another break. And then, you know, a couple months pass by, here I am, the season's over and I'm home. Yeah. And we did that every year. Yeah. So we spent, you know, New Year's together. We spent Christmases together. I was going back and forth. I mean, one time, Jafar, I came back to Dearborn for 3 days.
Really?
From Lebanon to, and it took me 2 days to get here. I stayed for 3 days. My coach told me he wanted me to stay. I had to go. This was during year 3 in Firzol. I said, man, I got to go home. Yeah. And I need to see my friends. I need to see my girl. I need to see my mom. I need to see everyone. I need to see Dearborn and get that, you know, feel back or else I'm going to die here, you know? Yeah. He's like, okay, you have 3 days. I said, I didn't even argue. I said, I'm out. I booked the ticket that day. Me, him, and Jad, my agent, were on a 3-way. We convinced them. The coach let me go. I was out on Thursday. I left. My flight was Saturday night.
Walk me through those 3 days. What do you do?
Oh my God, that trip was crazy. I landed in Dearborn at like 6 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Right away, reached out to one of Reem's friends because Reem didn't know.
Oh, okay.
I was always coming for surprises. I never used to tell anybody. I didn't just, I'm coming and going. You'll see me when you see me.
Yeah.
I had pulled up on her somewhere. I forget, they were out eating somewhere, and I just walked into the restaurant. She was like, "Oh my God!" Like it was a fun scene, you know. And then I went to surprise my mom, and my mom had a heart attack. Right? Oh my God! What the hell's going on? Whatever. My dad is the one who's more slick than all of us, man. I'm telling him because he's looking online for the ticket for me while I'm talking to the coach. And he was working in Washington, D.C. at the time. I booked my ticket to come surprise my mom and everybody. He booked a ticket to come surprise me. So when I walked into my house, I seen a car down the street from my house turned on, parked. I'm like, who is that? You know what I mean? Like, that's weird. I ignored it. I walk in the house, surprise my mom, my brothers, everybody's going crazy. And then who knocks on the door and opens right after my dad came in, and we went nuts. And I was running for those 3 days like you wouldn't believe. Family, friends, Sahara here. I got to go eat this place. I've missed this place. So I need a Basha sub right now. I need the, like I would go get all my urges out of the way, see everybody. I wouldn't even unpack my bags. I would take out 2-3 outfits, keep everything packed, leave stuff here, take a new, I'd be packing boxes of cereal, jars of peanut butter,
Definitely.
Certain things that you just have here that are easier. And
anything that'll make it feel like home.
Anything that'll make you feel like home, man.
What about that conversation with Reem about moving to Lebanon? She lived all her life here, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So how do you approach a conversation like that?
I feel like the approach to it is preparation. So it's not like, one day I just sprung on her like, hey, we're moving to Lebanon together, pack your bags, we're done. At 18, I told her this was my goal and my dream. So the second she seen me go there at 21 for the first time, she realized it was real, and that if we wanted to, inshallah, be together and make this happen, that was probably going to be our reality. So, once we got married in 2019, that was the goal the whole time, prepping up after engagement. Like, hey, the next contract I sign, like wherever they put us, we're going. It's not I'm going anymore. Yeah. And she was very excited.
Was it hard for her to adjust to Lebanon?
You know what? Yeah, but I tried to make it as easy as possible for her, which is it's clear it's impossible to do. But her friends and cousins and aunts, and they did a good job of helping out there. And honestly, like, Lebanon is so fun and so beautiful. I just kept her busy the whole time. Like, every night we were there. Zaytuna Bay this night. We're going to downtown Beirut today. And then tomorrow we're going to ABC Mall. And then this day we're going to the Bahr. And I was exhausted. Like, Reem's going to watch this and see it. I was very tired. Like, going to practice, taking her here, doing this. Let's go shopping. Okay, now let's go eat at this place. And I just kept it alive. And that's what I loved about Lebanon. It had my life in an up-tempo way that I don't know if I'll ever find again. But it was tough, but she also has a passion for Lebanon the same way that I do. Her dad did a great job of taking her there as a kid and teaching her, and we were very adventure driven. We wanted to get out there and do something ourselves, and a lot of people seen us being the age that we were at, and we're like, wait, first you're getting married at this age, and then you're moving to Lebanon to play basketball. They couldn't wrap their heads around it, and I don't blame them. It's not
common.
We weren't a conventional thing that was happening.
Wasn't
but
common.
you know what? I loved her and she loved me, and as long as your head's in the right spot, Allah's gonna bless you and put you in the right place to make those things happen. And I'm trying to get married. I'm trying to do something. I wanna kamil nus din, as we say, right? And I feel like God gave us those opportunities together because our heads were in the right place, and we went there and had a blast until one day she wakes me up at 6 o'clock in the morning and is yelling, saying, Ali, come look outside, there's something happening. And I'm 6 a.m. I'm pushing her away, saying, Habibti, welcome to Lebanon. Shu, I'm bi'aytu barra, what's going on? It's normal. She goes, no, this is different, something's happening. I get up and I walk outside, and I've never had, when they say your heart falls, my heart fell through my body. I look outside, there's a semi-truck that's dumping, this is in Jalid-Dib. It's a semi-truck dumping hundreds of tires into the middle of the highway, and cars are piled up and stopping. There's a guy wearing the V for Vendetta mask. You ever see that white mask? Him and another guy in the back, and they're each holding gasoline cans, and they're driving in the middle of the tires, pouring gasoline everywhere. And I swear this is like a movie. I'm watching this whole thing happen at 6 a.m. Half my eyes open. I look outside. This guy's smoking a cigarette, and he flicks it, and the whole highway goes up in flames right in front of my own 2 eyes. And I looked at Reem and I said, "You're right. That's not normal." I said, "We got to get in contact with somebody now." I just had a weird feeling. And that's when the revolution had started.
Who do you call after that?
The first person I call always for anything is my dad, because he has the experience. I let him know what was going on. You know, he told me just wait and play it out. See, it could be just maybe in that area something's happening. Sometimes bisakru tara, they close
Right.
the streets. I said, okay, but like, you know, if something does pop off, you know, what I was scared of at the time was, you know, what the government was happening is they were trying to tax people on WhatsApp and cigarettes.
Right.
Ya Allah, tax them on everything besides WhatsApp and cigarettes. That's their only free thing they have there, you know? So that happened, and that was, I think, the straw that broke the camel's back. It wasn't necessarily the 6% tax or whatever, just the domino effect of
Yeah.
everything going on. And filtul alam and the revolution
What's the first thing
started.
that goes through your mind about your future in Lebanon when you see that highway go on fire?
It's done. Everything my dad ever told me, everything he ever warned me about and told me not to do, it's happening to me right on the spot. Because my dad told me, Ali, I love Lebanon. But I left Lebanon over 40 years ago because of that situation. And that year when I had to leave Lebanon and come back home, he looked at me and like, عم يشفي علي إنه I know you want this, but I had to leave 40 years ago. And now I'm watching my son 60 years later, basically, going and having it taken from him, and now he's being pushed out as well.
Yeah.
I was heartbroken, man. My career was taken from me in the snap of a fingers. Something I'd put 25 plus years into, you know, my hard work, my passion. Like, basketball is who I am.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like, even nowadays, I'm a mortgage broker. I'm the in-house lender at Keller Williams Legacy. When I tell people sometimes Ali Farhat, they're like, who? And then I'll say, Ali Farhat basketball. Oh my God, Ali, it's you. It's
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. So, like,
It's part of who you are now.
Man, it taught me everything I know in life. And
Yeah.
people would say, how can dribbling a ball teach you everything you know in life? It's far more complex than that. Far more. The discipline, the attitude, the work ethic,
Working
the
with other
brotherhood.
people. Yeah.
Man, meeting people from halfway around the world. I've played with over 100 NBA players, man. You know what kind of knowledge someone who's played in the NBA that's 5, 6, 7 years older than you at the time can shed on you?
Yeah.
It's crazy. I had a lot of, you know, big bros, quote unquote, at the time that would help me get through life there, man. And you know, it molded me and made me who I am. And
How
I'm
do
very
you end
proud
up
of it.
winning this?
That right there was like my dream come true. Everything in the world happened for basketball in order for me to get that medal that you're, you know, wearing right there. So it actually works out perfect because where I left off, 2019, we're stuck. We're in a 2 million man march revolution. People outside fighting, breaking stuff, drugs, this, that. We're stuck in our apartment for 3 weeks and I come back home. Okay, alhamdulillah, I was financially well. But anybody who is, you know, an adult and does anything with finances will understand you could have a year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years of savings. Eventually it's going to run out if you're not making money, right? So now I'm like, okay, I have 2 options. Do I sit and wait for the next season in Lebanon? At that time, I'm not going to lie, I was kind of hurt. I'm like, man, the hell with this place. I can't believe they just did this to me. I had all these plans. I just got married. I was playing the best season of my career. And then, poof, taken from me. That's how I became a mortgage broker. So that December of 2019, I came home and I was married. Obviously, I don't want to live with my parents. I don't want to do anything like that. So in 2 weeks, Jafar, I bought a home. I leased 2 cars. I got health insurance. I found a guy to start cutting my grass. Like everything normal for, you know, living in a household here, I had done in 2 weeks. I got an interview with Rocket Mortgage. I had landed the job. I closed on my home in the middle of the month. And now I went from, hey, at 8 in the morning, I need to be in the gym lifting and working on my ball handling skills to like putting on a headset, like training to write a mortgage.
Yeah.
Doing a 9 to 5 desk job. And at the time it was Rocket Mortgage. It wasn't 9 to 5. It was more like 7 to midnight. Not literally, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I was like, although I thrived and I passed my license and I became very well in the company and I was there from 2019 to 2021, one day while I'm sitting at my desk, who calls me?
Jad.
Calls me. And I had already set out, you know, 2019, 2020's done. Now they're starting up the 2020, 2021, and I'm like, man, I'm not going to get burned again like that. I can't take the risk. You know, there's money problems now. There's so much going on. I'm just going to stick to my job, man. And deep down, that killed me. I was like, I felt dead inside when I had to tell myself that. But as a man who had made a commitment to being married and being financially responsible and taking care of a home, you can't always think with your heart. You have to think with your brain.
Right.
And that's what I did at the time. Until Jad called me. And then Jad made me think with my heart. Jad called me in 2021. He said, what are you doing? And for those, you know, who are going to watch this and work at Rocket Mortgage or have worked or have heard of, I was talking to 20 clients, answering 5 emails and whatever. And I answered the phone. I put somebody on pause that I was talking to. I said, what's up, Jad? I got a minute. Because he knew I was in the crazy, you know, work lifestyle. He said, Riyadh. I did this. took off my headset, and I got up and I walked away completely from my desk. I said, what do you mean Riyadh? Because Riyadh was a...
His Riyadh is the team.
Riyadh was Riyadh.
Yeah.
Riyadh is the history of Lebanon,
Yeah.
you know? And it was a team that many times we got close and negotiation almost worked and everything was right there and just something happens, you know, business is crazy. And I never got the chance to do it. And when he said Riyadh, it reminded me of me when I was 16 years old. My dad took me to Riyadh's gym, Bil Manara. And we stood up there and I looked around at the gym and I told my dad, and he'll attest to this. I said, Dad, this is it. I'm going to play here one day. And he looked at me. It's the first time in my life I see my dad get a little choked up about anything. You know, the old generation, he looked at me and I seen his face of like, he understood like because of just the passion that I'm like, Dad, this is it. This is my dream. You're looking at everything I want in life is to be here in this gym at the highest level. So Jad calls and says Riyadh. I dropped my headset. I got up. I said, what about Riyadh? Haj Mazen Tabbara called. Allah yahmi wa tahiyya Haj Mazen Tabbara. What do they want? He said, it's been a long season. They have maybe 2.5 months left of the season. They're heading towards playoffs. One of their point guards got hurt. They need a veteran. They need somebody who's done this before and they trust you and they're willing to do this. Are you in shape and are you able to go? And I said, I had to take a pause and a deep breath. Now my heart's beating. I'm like, there's no way this is going to happen all over again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
that's COVID time, right?
COVID time, man.
Yeah.
COVID time. So I told Jad, I'm not in the best shape in the world as to what I normally am, but I'm going to pure will this one. Like, yes, I'm in shape. Tell them I'm ready, which I was. I said, once the final numbers are set, let me know what they are so I can make sense of them. And I got to talk to my company now because you're telling me 2.5 months. What about the rest of the year? Like, am I now going back to full-time basketball or will my job allow me to leave for 2.5 months and come back? I spoke with my job and there was
I bet they never had someone walk in and be like, look, I have a basketball contract overseas.
It was a unique situation, because Rocket really does love a lot of athletes. We're competitive. We work hard. It kind of fits their culture. But I think I was maybe the first guy to come in there and be like, hey, can I put this on pause because I have to do this? So, as you know, HR gets involved. Your leader, their leader, the regional vice president, everybody in the company got involved. I had maybe, 5 to 10 people working on this for me. And, long story short, 9 out of 10 people said, hey, we're completely fine with you leaving for 2.5 months. We'll put all your work on pause for you. And then you come back and sit in your chair again and you're good to go. You can pick up right where you left off. There was one person, and unfortunately, I feel like they were the decision maker, that said, nope, we don't do exceptions. So if he wants to leave, he has to resign. And then when he wants, he can come and apply back. So, they pretty much guaranteed me, like, if you want to resign and come back, like, your job's here and back for you. But I took that personal. And I said, if it wasn't for COVID and the revolution and everything that happened in that year, I wouldn't be sitting in this chair.
Yeah.
And at the time, I had found a lot of success at that company. I know the market was a lot better and things were great, but for lack of a better term, I was killing it.
Yeah.
So I said, man, for me to go, and I'm telling you guys, this was my dream. It was stripped from me. And I know if I go to Riyadh, we're winning the championship. There's no question about it. And you guys are telling me no? I said, I talked to my wife, of course. I talked to my older brother, Ned. I talked to my parents. And, I came to the decision of, send me the resignation. This is what I'm going to do. I'm chasing. I don't care if this makes me go forever. I'm going to get this championship. And I went to Lebanon with Riyadh, went undefeated, never lost a single game. I was the 6th man on the team. And kind of a unique story. Remember how I told you that first day in Lebanon when I went to Champville? Champville has a long step.
Yeah.
There's like 20, 30 steps like Rocky Balboa just to get up to the gym. The finals was played, Riyadh versus Champville. We swept them 4-0, but game 4 was a little bit special because it was on Champville's court.
Wow.
So now
you're walking up
nostalgia.
those steps.
I'm walking up the steps on my way into the gym for the first time in Lebanon. And then I FaceTimed Reem and I said, look how God works. I'm FaceTiming her
goosebumps.
with my gold medal, walking down with the Champville in the background saying 6 years later, like I'm walking out with my gold medal.
Wow.
And then the party started. In Lebanon, our bus was followed all the way from Nahr al-Kalb all the way to Sa'b Slim,
Yeah.
Bil Manara. People going crazy and waiting. The fans were waiting for us. Thousands of people outside.
Because there weren't any fans in the arena, correct?
No, you were only allowed a limited amount of people because during COVID at the time they were restricting how many people were allowed. And as you know, I mean, that hurts us, a team and fan base like Riyadh and Shanville. Like, we want the fans to be involved.
Yeah.
So all of them were waiting outside for us,
Yeah.
you know, and they picked us up and carried us out. But it was, that was my, I don't want to say peak, but that was probably
A crowning moment.
that was the most crowning moment I've ever had, you know, outside of maybe signing the professional contract. This was like, alhamdulillah, if I stop playing today and God took my health from me, or I just never get the chance again to go, whatever it is, I put my bed, you know, at night, and I'm a tough critic on myself, you know, but now I can finally put my my head to rest knowing I did it. I'm a champ. That necklace hangs with my Riyadh jersey in my office at Keller Williams. I look at it every day. I put it around my son when he was born. It's the first baby picture I took of him because I promised Jed, I said, Jed, if I sign with Riyadh, my wife was pregnant at the time. Could you imagine how supportive my wife was? At 6.5 months pregnant, I looked at her and she said, go. Don't ask a question. Don't say nothing. I know what this means. You're gonna win, Ali. Go. I said, Reem, don't, like, you show me one look and I won't go. She said, Ali, I'll never forgive you if you don't go. I packed my bags and I had to leave. Now, obviously, with putting 1 million people in play to make sure she was as comfortable as possible as, you know, as me being not there. But, you know, I went, I won, I came back home. My wife delivered maybe 1 or 2 weeks later. Look how good the timing was. My son was born. I wrapped him up in that medal. And honestly, 2021 was probably the best year of my life. You know, I had my son that year, which is the best thing that's ever happened to me. And I won my championship. So, you know, career and personal goals wise, that was
peak.
That was peak. I also opened up a company that year. I mean, it was just, alhamdulillah, man. It was really good, you know?
After that championship, how does your basketball career kind of go?
It was confusing because now, you know, although I felt like in the back of my head, maybe I can go fish khil'ah or get it off my chest. I want to go play again and just win my championship. Then I'll be good again. I'm done. I have a good job now back home. I bought a home. I need to settle in now. You know, when they say you taste blood, I tasted blood. I went there and I got the feel of working out again and being in top shape and playing at the highest level that there was, and the fans, you know, yelling your name, and you know, you get that medal. Now I'm like, okay, my whole life was to get 1, Jafar. Now I want 2. And then don't you want 3? And that's the grind, right? So now I'm in a position where it's like, what do I do? Following that year, I think I made a mistake. Not a mistake because everything happens for a reason, but I got a bunch of calls to go back that following season, and I didn't take it just because, you know, the whole revolution and the currency situation, the financial situation is all still happening during this time. So, you know, alhamdulillah, the basketball industry is still doing well, but what about the rest of the world? Like in 2021, the rest of the country, I mean, imagine waiting in a gas station line for 2.5 hours with no AC, no nothing. You're trying to preserve your gas. You get to the front and they tell you, sorry, Habibi, no more gas. Habibi, I wasted a quarter tank waiting in line. How am I supposed to get home? Now I'm calling black market people and I'm cutting a hose and filling gas by myself on the side of a highway, paying triple the price what I'm supposed to. What about getting food poisoned in, you know, places where they don't, you know, have full-time electricity and the lahmi goes out and the guy can't afford to buy new products, so he, you know, has to,
he gives you a
he beats the meat up a little bit and then puts it back in your food, and now you're food poisoned. Or I had a kidney stone issue at the time and I went to the hospital and they're telling me, if you don't show us money right now, mind you, I'm fully insured by Nadi Riyadh, fully insured. And they're telling me, if you don't show us US dollars right now, we can't even see you. And I'm on the floor, sweating, throwing up, in pain, dire need. Like, I'm probably going to die if they don't help me, until I have to show, like, hey, I have money, get me something. I was like, you know what? Basketball's great, but what I'm going to try to do now is I don't want to play the full season anymore. I'm going to manage my mortgages here for full time. And then at the end of every season, I feel like I've earned the right and kept myself in good enough shape to hop onto any team and be able to help them push for a championship. So I sat out that following year. Because Riyadh called me back, the timing wasn't working. I had a lot going on here at the time. They wanted me for, I think, 4 or 5 months. I could only do 2 or 3. I sat out the year. And then this year came along where I sat out the whole season. I called Jed one day and I said, Jed, you know, is everything okay out there? He said, what do you mean? I said, can we make something work? He said, I'll call you next week. So in early May, end of April, a couple months ago, you know, I still train basketball. Like I said, it's a lifestyle for me. You know, I'm always in shape. I'm always ready to go. I'm sitting at my desk at Keller Williams, and Jed calls me. And I know it's either good news or it's bad news. Either he's going to tell me I have a team for you, or sorry, this year's not your year, or are you willing to sacrifice and take less money? Like, he's going to put it out on the table for me. He calls me and says, Coach Ahmed Yamoud, the coach of Beirut club at the time, he's on the other line. He wants to talk to you. If you guys can make it work, you're done. You're ready to go.
They were the final four team. They were in the final four teams.
Yes. So Coach Ahmed called me. He explained the role that he wanted me to play. I said, I can absolutely do that.
What was it?
He needed a backup point guard.
Okay.
He needed an extra guard on the team. He needed somebody at the time to kind of give energy and fire up the team, right?
Yeah.
So I came off the bench and I think I played 3 games this year while I was out there. I'm running on the floor. I'm diving on the floor. I'm getting physical with people. I mean, the very first game I was there, we got into a fight and the whole crowd rushed and whatever because me and another 7'2" guy, were talking smack to each other, and I jumped right into the fire like I had.
Do you smack talk in English or Arabic?
Whatever you want, any language. That's just who I am. I mean, honestly, Jafar, people who know me off the court will love me, and people who have maybe seen me play and don't know me as an individual might have a whole different perception of who I am. Like on the court, I'm very fiery. I'm very, I'm not cocky. I'm very passionate. I'm very confident. I know what I'm about. And if anyone has ever played with the high level guys, that's all they do.
Yeah.
You talk and you fight and you do this and you do that. Especially, I grew up playing in Detroit. A lot of the travel basketball and going to Eastern Michigan, playing with some of the best talent in the country.
Yeah.
It's a dogfight.
Oh, yeah.
So a lot of times that was a common misconception that people had of me. Like when you talk to me in real life, I'm a very calm, collected, communicative person.
Yeah.
On the court, somebody bumps me, I'm like yelling, pushing, shoving, diving on the floor, like screaming after a play. Like I love it. It's like my, they say it's the battlefields for you, the man in the arena, right? You can let go and be whoever you are. That's who I was. So, in high school, college, even professionally sometimes, when you don't know who that person is personally and you're watching from the outside, I don't blame them. You'll perceive like, wow, this guy may be egotistic or cocky, or wow, he believes in himself, shaykh halu too much. Or I mean, I don't want to say, because a lot of people say, I don't care what people think. You need to care what people think.
Of course.
Our culture, our religion tells us you also need to have zu' of alam, right?
Yeah.
So I did care, but to a certain point I didn't, because I know what my niyyah is, I know what my intention is, and the people close around me know who I am. If people are going to look at me for a certain way because I'm just that damn passionate in the game, hey, I know some little kid at home was watching me getting pumped up, and that's really all I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So
when you go through periods of time, let's say you're playing on a basketball team and you go through periods of time where you don't perform your best.
Yeah.
A couple games pass by and it's just not going well for you. Does it get to your head?
Yeah, it does. It gets to everybody's head,
Who do you call? Do you talk about it with anyone, or do you just kind of let it pass by?
I feel like it depends on the situation, because while being on a team, there's many different things that you can go through that can be putting you in a slump, right? Mm-hmm. Could it be you're turning the ball over too much? Could it be you're missing shots? Are you fighting with your coach? Are you fighting with a teammate? So for me, whatever was going on with me was situational. So like if I'm, having a hard time with a coach, I'm going to reach out to an old coach of mine, right? Or I'm going to reach out to Hassan Nizam. As you've seen, he's Central Michigan's assistant coach now, one of my best friends. I'll call him and just kind of pick his brain and say, like, how do you guys perceive things? And how do you see this? Or look what I did here. And sometimes you tell me, you can't do that. Or, you should do this. Or, no, you did nothing wrong. Honestly, it's just situational. So the way you deal with it is just by being disciplined. Like, listen, the keys to success, even though it's not easy to get there, it's pretty simple. You work hard, and that's it, right? If you work, like if my shot's not going in, that means tomorrow at 6 a.m. I got to be shooting 1,000 shots. I got to see that shot going, because at the end of the day, it's a science. It's muscle memory, right? If my arm gets used to shooting this, it's going to flow like that. But maybe I'm not working as hard as I need to. That's why I'm missing the shot in the game. Maybe that's why I'm tired. So I would just say practice. And basketball to me is like 80% mental and 20% physical. The physical part, I mean, if you're making it to that level, clearly you have a physical capability that you deserve to be there.
Right.
But it's mental. Remember I was telling you that ferociousness, that craziness that I have on the court, maybe I wasn't as good as I was supposed to be, but because I believed I went at some of the best players in the state. I've went at some of the best players in the world now. I've held some top tier guys to very few points in games that these guys were a few weeks leaving the NBA.
Yeah.
Or these guys, I had no business to some people from the outside. This guy, Ali Farhat versus this guy, that guy will kill. Well, put your money where your mouth is type of situation, right?
Yeah.
So it's hard work, it's belief in yourself. And, I keep saying it in the podcast, God, Allah, like, listen, I'm not perfect. I don't come on here to preach like Allahu Akbar and whatever, God says. That's not me, but I'm a very straight up person. I'm not perfect. I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, but never have I ever, veered away from God. And God is every reason for why I am who I am, for all the good and all the bad. Everything that I go through, I depend on him.
I love that.
So without him, I'm nothing. And with him, I'm everything.
Yeah. Why did you never make the national team?
You break my heart right now, Jafar. The national team. The national team is first of all, in 2018, I was selected, to go to training camp.
Yeah.
At that time, we were playing against Beirut Club for the opening game of the season. So for the people that don't know, Lebanon has a national team, and then there's club basketball, similar to how Spain has the national Spanish team, and then they have Real Madrid, Barcelona, and so on and so forth. So in my first club game, I had gotten a lot of attention in my first 2 years, like Ali should play on the national team, let's invite him, but it never fell through. So I was just like, if the opportunity comes, I'm more than thankful. If not, I'll keep working.
Because that's in the back of your head.
Absolutely.
Everyone wants to play for the national team.
Absolutely it was. And I had left my contract early with Champville. I was under a 1-year deal. Once that finished, I signed a 2-year deal. In my 3rd year, I left Champville, which is a huge team out there, to go play for a lower team. Not lower team, just maybe a smaller team. It was their first year in Division 1 to prove myself, because I'm like, I see the players I'm playing against. I'm expected as a Lebanese guy to go and guard the foreign American player when I play in the game. So I know for a fact, if I'm playing against a Lebanese guy, I have good odds. And not a disrespect to any of the Lebanese guys. We have a phenomenal national team and a phenomenal league. I just knew what I was capable of.
Yeah.
So I get called to training camp. I thought this was after I scored 30 points in a game, of course. They called me and said, hey, Coach Slobodan Subotic was his name. I think he was Greek, or I'm not positive, but he invited me. I have a great national team training camp. And at the time, I had a citizenship, which in Arabic is a hawiyya. And if you see my picture on it, it's still when I'm 6 years old, my first trip to Lebanon. So President, as they would say, Akram Halabi, he came and talked to me. He pulled me over to the side one day at practice, and he said, listen, Ali, we like the way you play. It's very unique, because I have a very unconventional way of playing. I take weird shots. I take risks. I do some. It's just who I am, right? He says, we need to get you a Lebanese passport. You don't have a passport. You only have a citizenship. We're connected with the embassy. We can, get you it fast, but I need you to act now. You need to go, you gave me an address, and he said, go work on it right now. I said, yes, sir. I left practice. I go. I take all my stuff with me. أنا مع منتخب لبنان ويلا you hear all the clicks. I'm getting excited. 20 minutes, they printed me a passport. And it's all liable. I'm a Lebanese citizen. I can get a passport. So now I'm technically no longer an American citizen on the national team. I'm now a pure 100% Lebanese citizen. I had to write a letter to FIBA, the Federal International Basketball Association, on how it was my dream as a kid and why I did this, and because I'm forfeiting my rights to play for the United States team.
Yeah, okay.
Obviously, I'm never going to make the United States team. So I said, absolutely, let's do Lebanon. Akram Halabi applies with the rest of the federation for now a visa that I need, because we were going to China. We were going to Philippines. It was for one window for the World Cup qualifiers.
Who was the point guards on that team?
At the time, it was Wa'il Ara'ji. I think he may have been facing some injuries too at the time. Ali Mizhir. Jad Khalil was there. And I think that was the group of point guards at the time.
Okay.
So I go, I do everything, and they apply for my visa, and my visa ended up getting rejected. China was the first country to reject my visa, so I couldn't travel with the team. Now, obviously, if you can't travel with the team, or you can't do, how am I going to be a part of it anymore? And then that was a little heartbreaking for me, but I have my practice jersey at home that has, the Lebanese name on it, and just getting called and being told, like, hey, you're capable and you're able, and if it wasn't for this situation, we would have took you. Check off the bucket list, man. Although I would have loved to actually suit up and go play and represent my country in an actual game, just everyone's got their story, and certain things work out for certain ways. I feel like I'm one of those guys who always goes through that. So
when you look back at your basketball career in Lebanon, is there a day you look back at and you're like, that was the darkest day?
Yeah, I do. The day that I had decided to leave Atlas, because I was leaving in the middle of a season now. Or I told you I was on a contract with Champville. I had to call Champville's president, Ibrahim Messa, who is still like a father figure to me till this day. I talk to him all the time, and tell him, like, please, I need you to let me out of this contract. I'm probably going to sign for half this amount, but I'll make that financial sacrifice for the meantime, for the bigger picture, to prove myself. And God bless him, he let me do it. And now I go there and the grass isn't greener. I'm living in a weird apartment. The snow, there's no, the food, everything closes at night. I was living more in like a daya with snow. It was just a nightmare, to be honest. And I don't have any problems with Atlas. I still talk to the Mudir, Johnny Saidi, and their new coach, Anthony, at the time was like a little brother to me, and I love them. I almost went back and played for them this year. But I left a great salary from Champville, a well-known team that I was comfortable with, in an area that I was familiar with a president who adored me and loved me to death, all to go prove myself. And now I'm, my living situation's harder. I'm making less money. I'm frustrated with my coach. I'm frustrated with the assistant coach. I'm driving an hour and a half in a life or death situation every day. And I knew the second I leave, it's going to come out that Ali's leaving for other reasons.
Yeah.
The word gets around and whatever. And I was frustrated. The coach was frustrated. All of us were frustrated at the time. It was a tough year. And I just said, you know what? I just felt like what was best for everybody at the time was I'm going to leave. And I knew that was going to maybe hurt my reputation for a little bit. But I just said, for my sake, for my life's sake, for my family's sake. My mom's crying every day, wondering if I made it to practice or not. This isn't stuff that, you go on the interviews in Lebanon and tell people. They just say, oh, did you not get along with your coach? Or did you have an attitude? Or did somebody bother you or say something to you? And I'm like, honestly, I don't have to share that with everybody. But the honest to God truth was there was a bunch of things going on. I made a decision that was best for me and my family at the time. And I don't regret it, but it was so dark because now I'm coming home and I'm not playing again until next year. And I'm getting all these phone calls like what happened. And I'm watching teams compete and play during the season. And I'm supposed to be having the best season of my life where I'm scoring 30 points and I'm getting called to the national team and everyone knows me. And in all, I felt like it just wasn't meant to happen that year. So I went into a dark place. But sometimes when I go into a dark place, it's
good.
It's a fuel.
If that 16-year-old Ali, after he gets that DM from Jad, he got excited. He told his parents a couple years after. He's getting on that flight to go to Lebanon. If Ali now, with all the knowledge that he has, can have a sit-down conversation with that Ali, what would he tell him?
And I was having a conversation about this with a close friend of mine just the other night. I was saying if I could share with my younger self everything that I knew now, what would be the point of life, right? There's a reason you make the mistakes you make or you do the rights that you do. If I could sit down with myself, I would tell myself just to keep always ignore the noise, to stay always loving your family, to believe in yourself more than ever, because there's going to be times where you're down yourself and you don't want to play anymore. But never let that noise be louder than the one that's in your heart and that's in your soul, because people will try to break you down. But one of the biggest tests to life, in my opinion, is how do you react when someone tries to break you down? Can you get through adversity?
Yeah.
Can you push through and believe in yourself enough? And I wouldn't give myself too many tips, because there would be no point to what I did if I just knew everything right there and then. But I would just look myself in the eyes and tell myself, you can do whatever you put your mind to if you believe in it.
I didn't expect you to say that. But I like the answer. Being a basketball player is a dream, We all dreamt of being athletes, whether it was soccer or basketball. You were able to live that dream. But when do you know when to let that dream die? Like when do you know when it's time to hang it up?
That's such a hard question, because I'm almost 29 and people now are still telling me hang it up till this day. And I'm like, no, I still want to play. I still have more to accomplish, let alone people who there's kids who are trying to make a middle school basketball team, a high school basketball team, a girls swimming team. There's so many kids that have that passion, have that drive. And, because I was told, hey, that's too big of a dream for you to have, I'll never tell anybody to stop. That's just not who I am. Obviously, you get to a point where you're, in your mid-20s and you're still chasing an NBA or NFL dream. That's probably not as realistic if you didn't play college or you didn't get that upbringing in high school to get that availability, right? But to me, it's never stop chasing your dream. You know how many people told me, you're not going to play Division I basketball? You're not going to play pro? Are you kidding me? Look at this guy. Groups of people laughing at me. Yeah, look at this guy. He thinks he's going to do this. What makes you different than anybody else? And I would say you'll watch and see. So dream on. I'm never telling anybody not to do that. Dream on forever.
So in the meantime, you're keeping that dream alive.
Absolutely. I still keep that dream alive. I'm a full-time mortgage broker. It's my full-time job, right? But I still find the day, the time in my day to lift, to run, to play, to get it done, because I'm still dreaming in my head. And basketball doesn't have to be your only dream. Right now, I have aspirations and dreams for my current industry that I'm in right now, which is helping our community financially. advising them on how to buy a home, sharing with them the details that maybe they don't know or people don't take the time to explain to. So now, when you help a first-time home buyer buy a home, or a new immigrant, or somebody who's been renting for 20 years and they never thought in their life they'd own a home, when you do that type of stuff, it kind of creates different goals and different dreams and drives for you. So Dream On isn't only about sports. Dream On is a lifestyle.
Is there anything that you can be offered to stop what you're doing right now and go back and play full seasons back in Lebanon?
Is there anything? I mean, yeah, a couple $1 million would be the trick, right? To be honest, between me and you, I do have offers to go and play, right?
Full seasons.
Full season, absolutely. And I've had ever since 2019 when I decided to stop playing full time, and I proved that during my time at Riyadh, I averaged 10 points, 3 assists, and 3 rebounds a game, coming from Rocket Mortgage. You know what I'm saying? Winning a championship, doing things the right way. So I kind of proved to a lot of people out there that I have the ability to do that. So my plans nowadays are, would I love to play a full season? Yeah, when I was down there and these teams are calling me and this guy's saying, what do you think about this? Yeah, I want to pull the trigger. Of course I do. But there's just more to life now. So what I'm trying to do is get the best of both worlds. I'm a full-time mortgage broker. I work mortgages from September all the way till maybe around May, and then April, May, every year. If a team needs somebody, if someone's missing, someone gets hurt, someone wants to upgrade their team, whatever it is, I'm keeping myself ready to help somebody in the playoffs. So I'm going to do both as long as I can. You know, and when people ask me how long, you know what I tell them? Till the wheels fall off. Yeah. That's who I am. I have no reason to stop. Why would I?
I wouldn't stop if I were you,
But many people ask me, like, okay, you've done it. You've been playing pro for 6-7 years.
It's too much fun.
I tell them, guys, you got to understand something. Like, this is literally a dream. Not just for me, like you said, also close people live vicariously through me, not in a negative way, in the most positive of ways, where I'm recording videos, I'm FaceTiming them when I'm walking in the gym, when I'm putting out my jersey, when I'm stretching, like, look what we're doing. Because I have so many guys that were very talented, or family members, and they're like, what's it like? How is it? And, someone put it into my perspective the other day. They're like, wow, 10 years later after high school and you're still playing, Ali. And I just said, alhamdulillah. Yeah. So if I could still play another 10 years from now and 10 years from that, when I'm in my 40s, I'm doing it for as long as I can. Yeah. And I'm going to try to balance both as long as I can, because I'm capable. If I leave here for 2-3 months, I have a wonderful team with Clover Mortgage and Keller Williams that can help me manage my business while I'm gone. And while I was there, I was staying up till 4 or 5 in the morning, sometimes working double on files and doing things. But hey, I'm young, I'm motivated. Like, if I can't do this now, when am I going to do it? Yeah. This is my time to give this life everything that I got, because tonight, tomorrow, next second is not guaranteed to us. So I got to give this world my all before I low.
I want you to think about this for a second before you answer it. But do you feel fulfilled?
Yes, I do, but I'm not done, and I have to give credit to Ali Sob, is one of my best friends. We've been best friends since I was maybe 10 years old. It's been a long time. And Ali is a guy who I confide in a lot. He's seen my whole upbringing. I seen his. We seen the goods, the ups, the downs of our lives together. So the guy, he knows me better than a lot of people do, right? And I was having a talk with Ali, maybe year 3 or year 4. Ali's a real estate agent. We're having that talk of, how long do I do this realistically? What's the goal here? Am I playing for 5 years? Am I playing for 10, 15? Is this just one and done? Like, what's my plan? And, he's telling me, like, hey, there are other opportunities for you here, whether it's real estate, mortgages, you want to come back, get your education, whatever it is. And I just kept telling him, like, oh, I haven't, gotten selected to the national team yet, or I haven't won a championship yet, or, wallah, this guy, he averaged this many years in this country. I'm trying to do this. And he just looked at me, he said, you don't have nothing to prove anymore, Ali. You've done it. You have all the high school records. You played Division I in college. You did, you've checked off every bucket list. What are you still trying to prove? And that's when my fulfillment kind of shifted a little bit. I said, you know what, man? No one had ever told me that, first of all. Second of all, I'd never told myself that, right? Where I believed that, I had done enough. And I said, you know what, man? That's where the humble and humility part comes in, where, as you can see, I try to be an overachiever. I'll always push myself to the max. Like, to me, with the whole career that I had, whatever, I could have done 10 times more, and I should have, right? But I said, you know what? Thank God I did what I did. That enough right there is for me to say, alhamdulillah, like, You know, I'm good. I broke records. My name will be remembered for a long time. I affected the community in a positive way. I've done enough to guide the next generation on how to get to the next level and what they need to do to keep themselves in line to get here. And that gave me a lot of fulfillment. But my cup's always
Not as empty.
It's half full.
Not as full, yeah.
It's half full. You know why?
Yeah.
If I'm not chasing every day in here, the day I get set, my old high school coaches tell me the day you get satisfied is the day you're done.
Okay.
I don't care if you're averaging 30 points a game. I don't care if you have $1 million in the bank. I don't care what you have. The day you're satisfied is the day you're done. What are you living for if you're not working for something, right? If you're not trying to get better intellectually, whether it's, you know, a degree or educational, a license, or just reading a book, for God's sake, whatever you're doing in life, if you're not going to be perfect at it, we know that. But if you're not trying to be, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So alhamdulillah, I'm fulfilled, but you know, I'm humbled to know I'm not perfect. There's so many people who do amazing things out there. I just got to keep chasing that for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
You know?
You're involved with youth sports to a good amount. What's a piece of advice you would give upcoming athletes, especially from the immigrant community?
It's not easy. It's not easy. And you know, everyone throws around that word scholarship or Division 1 or I want to play pro. That does not come easy. Not for guys like me, not for guys like you. You know, I told you prior to us filming, I'm 6'1". I'm not 7 feet tall. I don't have all the muscles in the world. Did God gift me with an ability? Yes, but if I didn't work for it day in and day out, there's nothing that would have separated me from the rest. So when I talk to these young guys, I tell them, look, me and you were the same, but you have to work. And most importantly, you're a student athlete, right? So with all this basketball, football, baseball, soccer, like whatever the sports talk, I'm huge on it, right? Sports are, you know, they make people who they are, okay? But if you tear an ACL, if you break a bone, if you're severely injured, what do you fall back on, right? And then second of all, in order to get on to the court or the field, you need to perform in the classroom, right? You need to be eligible, right? But even more importantly, an opportunity like for myself, if I didn't have a good GPA coming out of school, Eastern Michigan gave me an academic scholarship.
Oh, really?
Up front, yeah, not a basketball one, right? So that's when it even dawned on me even more, like, hey guys, you know, if I didn't have the grades that I had or the ACT score that I had or the extracurricular activities that I had being involved, do you think I would have played at that level so easily? No, even though it wasn't easy, but you get what I mean.
Yeah.
My GPA is what got me there. So
Yeah.
my advice is work hard. My advice is do great in the classroom because that's always going to be your backup plan no matter what happens. I don't care if you play for years, right? You have to have something to fall back on. But more than all, you're different. And I want you guys to embrace that because it's okay to be different. You know, for myself, being a Lebanese American, when I went to college, it was 14 African Americans and myself. My first year at Eastern, and I swear to you, I'll name you that whole team right now. Some of those guys are some of my best friends. You know, Mike Talley, Trent Perry, Jalen Ross, Jordan Nobles. I mean, all these guys, Ethan Alvano. I still talk to them till this day. But my first day in the locker room was a little.
Who is this guy?
Who's this guy? He's different, and I don't blame them. Now I'm looking at them too, like, yeah, also okay. Now it's gonna be a little uncomfortable. We got to get to know each other. And then I go to Lebanon, and then I'm also different there with the whole political, you're from here, and then this religion, and every team has a political party out there that they follow, and you say the wrong word or get involved with the wrong guys, you're in trouble. So, you know, just believe in yourself, understand you're different, understand that hard work, faith, and the books are going to get you where you need to be, and don't ever let anybody tell you no, because I was told no many times, and you see what I did.
Yeah. Ali, please never stop playing basketball. And next time we sit down, I'll wear one and you'll wear one.
Absolutely,
You would have
I
won
hope
your
so.
second.
That's the goal, brother. Thank
Yes,
you for
sir.
having me, man.
No,
I
of
appreciate
course,
it,
of
guys.
course. I really enjoyed this.
Absolutely, man.